Hello, history buff. Do you know who is Bernie Madoff? What is its place in the history of finance? The name was synonymous with success, with exclusivity, with the kind of wealth most could only dream of. He was a Wall Street legend, a self-made man who had risen to the pinnacle of the financial world. Madoff wasn't just a broker, he was a market maker, someone who had helped shape the Nasdaq stock exchange. He had built a reputation as a financial wizard, someone who could consistently deliver above-market returns year after year. Investors, both large and small, flocked to him, eager to hand over their life savings, their retirement funds, their children's college funds, all in the hope of sharing in his Midas touch. But behind this facade of wealth and success lurked a dark secret, a truth that would shatter the lives of countless investors and send shockwaves through the global financial system. Unbeknownst to his clients, Madoff wasn't a financial genius, but a con man, a master manipulator who had built his empire on a foundation of lies. His investment firm, far from being a legitimate business, was nothing more than a giant Ponzi scheme. A carefully constructed illusion designed to enrich himself and his inner circle while fleecing investors of billions of dollars. Madoff's scheme was deceptively simple in its design, relying on the age-old tactic of robbing Peter to pay Paul. He promised his investors steady, above-average returns, regardless of market conditions. These returns, however, weren't generated through legitimate investments. Instead, Madoff simply used the money from new investors to pay off older ones, creating the illusion of a successful investment strategy. To further his scheme, Madoff fabricated trading records, forging account statements that showed consistent profits, even when the market was in turmoil. He cultivated an air of exclusivity, making it seem like a privilege to be allowed into his inner circle of investors. This aura of secrecy and exclusivity only served to strengthen his hold over his clients, many of whom were blinded by their own greed and the allure of easy money. Madoff's success in perpetuating his scheme for so long can be attributed to a number of factors. First, his reputation as a Wall Street insider and a market maker lent him an air of legitimacy that few questioned. Second, his consistent returns, even in volatile markets, instilled a false sense of security in his investors. They saw their account statements showing steady profits, and they assumed everything was above board. Third, Madoff deliberately targeted wealthy individuals and institutions, many of whom were unsophisticated investors who were more concerned with the bottom line than with the intricacies of his investment strategy. They were happy to believe in the myth of Madoff's genius as long as the money kept flowing in. Bernie Madoff was more than just a con man. He was a financial serial killer. His crimes went beyond mere financial theft. They destroyed lives, shattered dreams, and left an indelible stain on the world of finance. His victims, many of whom had entrusted him with their life savings, were left financially ruined, their futures stolen by a man they had believed to be a financial savior. The impact of Madoff's scheme extended far beyond his individual investors. Charitable foundations, universities and pension funds were all caught in the web of his deceit, their assets decimated by their association with him. The ripple effects of his crimes were felt across the globe, eroding trust in financial institutions and shaking investor confidence to its core. The human cost of Madoff's crimes is, well, immeasurable. Retirees were forced back into the workforce, their golden years stolen. Families were torn apart by financial ruin and the weight of betrayal. The emotional toll of Madoff's deceit was as devastating as the financial losses, leaving his victims with a profound sense of loss, anger, and disillusionment. Among his victims were not only individual investors, but also prominent institutions like the Elie Wiesel Foundation for Humanity and the Hadassah Women's Zionist Organization of America. These organizations, dedicated to philanthropy and social justice, saw their missions crippled by the losses they suffered at the hands of Madoff. Who was the man behind this elaborate facade of wealth and success? Bernard Lawrence Madoff, born in 1938 in Queens, New York, was the son of working-class parents. He started his career as a penny stock trader, eventually building a legitimate securities firm that would later become the front for his massive fraud. While Madoff cultivated an image of philanthropy and respectability, donating to charities and serving on the boards of prestigious organizations, behind this carefully constructed persona lay a ruthless con man, a man who was willing to defraud anyone, even his own family and friends, to feed his insatiable greed. For years, Madoff operated with impunity, his scheme seemingly impervious to scrutiny. However, the global financial crisis of 2008 proved to be his undoing. As markets crashed and investors panicked, Madoff faced a flood of redemption requests that he was unable to fulfill. The house of cards he had so carefully constructed began to crumble, exposing the truth of his fraudulent activities. In December 2008, Madoff confessed his crimes to his sons, who promptly turned him in to the authorities. The news of his arrest sent shockwaves through the financial world, exposing the fragility of trust and the devastating consequences of unchecked greed. The Madoff scandal sent a chill through the financial world, exposing the inadequacy of regulatory oversight and the potential for even the most sophisticated investors to be deceived. In the wake of the scandal, regulators faced intense scrutiny, leading to calls for greater transparency, stricter enforcement of existing rules, and the creation of new regulations to prevent similar frauds from occurring in the future. The Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, passed in 2010, was in part a response to the Madoff scandal. The act aimed to strengthen financial regulations, increase oversight of financial institutions, and protect investors from predatory lending practices and other forms of financial abuse. The Madoff scandal serves as a stark reminder of the importance of due diligence in investing and the dangers of blindly trusting financial professionals. It highlights the need for investors to be skeptical, to ask tough questions, and to thoroughly research any investment opportunity before committing their hard-earned money. The allure of easy money, of above-average returns with minimal risk, can be intoxicating. However, as Madoff's victims learned the hard way, if something seems too good to be true, it probably is. In the world of finance, skepticism is not a vice. It is a virtue, a necessary defense against those who would seek to profit from deception and greed. Thanks for joining me on this historical journey. If you enjoyed this trip back in time, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating history bites. Until next time, keep exploring.